Once upon a time, Sega had the brilliant idea of making Sonic Generations. It was truly a genius concept, a celebration of Sonic games that would bring back levels from previous games and remake them in 3D. It was exciting stuff, but they had something bigger up their sleeve, and that was the idea of bringing in a classic version of Sonic while also making levels that played similarly to the Genesis Sonic games. Thus, classic Sonic was born. Generations as a whole was very successful. So successful that it became the highest praised modern Sonic game so far. This was due to the fact that, for one, the game had two separate playstyles that were both fun, and for two, the idea of bringing back old Sonic gameplay was very appealing to a wider audience. The Sonic that everybody loved was back in a brand new Sonic game. It was great. But Sega saw how successful Generations was and saw the biggest opportunity to make as much money as possible. It turns out that Generations wasn't the last time we would see classic Sonic in a mainline game, and that was just because there was still money to be made with this guy. Fast forward to 2017, after numerous attempts to make something happen with the Sonic franchise, they resorted to what worked initially: classic Sonic. So they get a group of fan game devs together to create Sonic Mania, a true love letter to classic Sonic fans. And yeah, it was amazing. It was very obvious that Sega was just trying to capitalize on the nostalgia of classic Sonic and how it was so successful in Generations, but Mania was still truly amazing. Hell, if you ask me, it's the best 16-bit classic Sonic game. If this was the direction they wanted to take with fully 2D Sonic games, then fine. This makes classic Sonic a separate entity from modern Sonic. At least that's how it was for a few months. Why? But literally why? Sonic Forces was a mess. They had no idea what direction they wanted to take with this game, so they resorted to just absolutely shoving a shitload of fan service in this game. Pretty much every level in the game is ripped from previous games. They added a customizable avatar character. They tried to shove in as many villains as possible, and how could we forget the use of classic Sonic? The thing with Generations is that classic Sonic worked in that game. He had a reason to be in that game. In Forces, they just put him in for marketing purposes, and that's not to mention how they utterly butchered his gameplay in Forces. Like, what the f happened? I'm not going to go into too much detail on why classic Sonic in Forces is trash, because I would rather save that for an actual Sonic Forces review. But the fact that classic Sonic was in this game at all really said a lot about Sega and how they actually cared about the quality of the product. But anyway, Forces bombed, and it took 5 years for the next Sonic game. So Sonic Frontiers eventually comes around, and there was no classic Sonic in sight. Hell, Green Hill wasn't even here. But it seemed like for the most part, Sega was leaving the whole nostalgia thing behind. And when Frontiers actually released without classic Sonic, it seemed like that was definitely the case. So then we get the announcement for Sonic Superstars, a brand new classic Sonic game. So it turns out that the reason why classic Sonic wasn't in Frontiers was because they were making a completely new game. Now, say what you will about Superstars, but I on the one hand am very excited for it. But I couldn't help but be a little disappointed because I thought we were getting a new modern 2D Sonic game, something similar to Sonic Rush or Sonic Advance, not you. Anyway, Superstars shows us that Sega hasn't forgotten about classic Sonic, not at all. And from the looks of things, it looks like this is going to be the new direction of 2D Sonic. Unlike Mania, this game is not reusing anything from previous classic Sonic games besides replicating the actual gameplay, which is great by the way, especially since Forces failed to do that. But Superstars sparked another question. Will classic Sonic ever die? Will we see more classic Sonic games in the future? The thing is, if Superstars is a big success, which let's be real, it's definitely going to be, then that will probably incentivize Sega to greenlight more classic Sonic projects. But will Superstars' success be a result of classic Sonic being used in the game? I don't think so, actually. Just think about it. What if Superstars was exactly the same, but it just had modern character designs instead? Would it really make that much of a difference? I really don't think so. The entire appeal of Sonic games in the first place comes from the fact that Sonic is in it. I really don't think it matters which Sonic they go with. Even though classic Sonic was in Forces, Frontiers has already outsold it. Now, there are definitely more contributing factors to why Forces didn't sell as well as Frontiers, but even if there was, that just shows that classic Sonic isn't the answer to selling more copies. In fact, it's the complete opposite. If a Sonic game looks different from previous games, then it's bound to be successful. Just not too different, you know? Now, it is possible that classic Sonic and Superstars was a creative decision, but like, come on now. They obviously saw the potential in making a modernized classic Sonic game, because this is going to be the first mainline classic Sonic game that isn't made up of 2D sprites. That in itself is kind of exciting, but the fact that they're using classic Sonic shows that they are probably trying trying to take it in a completely new direction. So, will classic Sonic return in the future? The answer is an absolute yes. Because even though it might not make a difference when it comes to actual sales, it looks like Sega is trying to establish classic Sonic as the 2D Sonic, if you get what I'm saying. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't think it's very possible that we will see a modern 2D Sonic game anytime soon, which kinda sucks. I touched on this in a previous video, but 2D Sonic games give chances to make Sonic feel different without much penalty. Look at Sonic Rush. That game feels truly unique from any classic Sonic game, and so far, it looks as if Superstars isn't really stylized in the slightest. Instead, it just looks like classic Sonic translated to 2.5D. But all in all, classic Sonic is here to stay, which in a sense is a good thing. It means that classic Sonic is going to remain separate from the new 3D stuff, which that's definitely a plus. But it also means that modern Sonic's ability to appear in more games is significantly limited. But let me know what you guys think about the continued use of classic Sonic, and are you excited for Sonic Superstars? But that's it from me, guys, so thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Goodbye.